Hello, 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 and welcome to the Viva La Vulva podcast. I am your host, Dr. Cara Quant, and I would like to thank you for joining me on this episode. So this is a solo episode, and we are getting all into lube, different types of lube, what are the difference between the lubes, the things to watch out for, the ingredients to watch out for. So you definitely want to stay tuned. You definitely want to get a pen and paper because lubes are not the easiest things to navigate through. They can be super helpful in bed and making sex more pleasurable and enjoyable, but there's so many lubes that are out there that it is hard for people to pick which are good and which are not good. So I will give you some recommendations that I have personally used. I will give you recommendations as to the things that you should completely avoid, and I will just break it down so you understand how to better pick lube when you go out to the store, when you go out to your next sex shop. So stay tuned for all the different types of lube on this episode. So let's get started. So what is the reason for lubes in the first place? So lubricants can basically help to minimize friction and irritation during sex. So sex is usually or can involve friction. So if it is a heterosexual relationship, the male penis going into the vagina, and that can be a lot of friction, especially if she is not well lubricated before. So if you guys have listened to the episode, you understand that I advocate that highly, that women, vulva owners, have to be well lubricated before any penetration goes in at all, and that she's also ready to be penetrated. So partners out there, it is good to always ask, and that is, I think, a big thing about consent, asking for what you are going to do and knowing that your partner is comfortable with that act, whatever it may be. So in terms of everything, lubricants can really help to minimize friction and irritation. And there are a couple different types of lubes that are out there. So there's gels and there's liquids in terms of like main big overall categories. And then you get into what are the different types of lubricants that are out there. So the next tier of categories are water-based, oil-based, and silicone-based lubricants. And I will go over each of those in detail so that you understand what is in each product and what it can help you with. So let's start out with going over some common irritants. So I've said this before that I am a part of the ISHWISH conference. I've gone to the conference the last couple of years. They're basically the International Society for the Study of Women's Sexual Health. And so this is information coming from other doctors. It's coming from research that has been done. And so the common vulvar or vulva irritants that are out there is pretty common, or they can be common in many of the well-known lubricants out there. So things like glycerin actually is a very powerful or potent irritant. So glycerin can basically be broken down into sugar in the vagina, and it can be the basis for bacteria and yeast growing, because yeast and bacteria love moist areas and they also love sugary areas. So glycerin, like I said, breaks down to sugar, and it can cause you to be more prone to bacterial and yeast infections. So one is glycerin to avoid. The other is benzocaine. Benzocaine can be pretty common in lubricants, and it can cause a lot of irritation. Spermicides and bactericides are also things to avoid in lubricants, and they can also be irritants. Another big category is chlorhexidine. Now, chlorhexidine is something that we use to scrub wounds for patients if they have ulcers and different things like that. Chlorhexidine can also be found in KY jelly. Yes. Many people use KY jelly. It's very common. You can find it at basically any store. You can find grocery store, any convenience store. You can find it pretty much anywhere. But chlorhexidine is not a good product to use in the vulva, and it can be a very irritating for the vagina and for the vulva. So chlorhexidine is not to be used. Parabens are other things that are can be found in some lubricants that are also not good to be used within the vagina and the vulva because it can be an irritant. Propylene glycol is another one, and latex is the last one. Yeah, so latex can be found basically in many different condoms. Most condoms do have latex, but you can find condoms that do not have latex in them, and but it can be an irritation for the vulva. So any of those things that I just listed can be found in lubricants and other products that are for cleaning of the vulva, or not moisturizing it, but basically cleaning it. And it is not good. It can cause irritation, and it can cause you to be more prone to bacterial and yeast infections. So the other common lubes that have many ingredients that are mild to moderate irritants for the vulva are, like I said, KY jelly, which is one of them, and Astroglide is another. These are not good products to use, even though they're so common. The ingredients are really everything. And for the vulva owners that are out there, if you notice, if you look on one of the products that you're using in your vulva and you know that it's causing you a little irritation, and you see these ingredients listed, then really take it back, get something else, because these products can be very irritating and it can burn the vulva. So that is, those are the common vulvar irritants to know about. They can cause a lot of irritation. Okay, so let's get into what are the different lubricant types. So water-based is the first category. So water-based is universal for any activity that you want to do. So whether it's vaginal, whether it's anal, you can basically use water-based lubricants for anything. They're also safe to use for condoms. It doesn't matter what material of condoms it is, whether it's latex or it's non-latex. Water-based are still very good to use with condoms, and they're also very safe to use during if you're using sex toys with you and your partner, or just you alone, because like I'll talk about later, silicone-based lubricants are not very good to use with toys because they can mess them up. And so water-based lubricants are the best to use with any silicone toys, or basically any toys in general. So I do have some water-based lubricants that I have used and that are helpful and good products. So the first one is Sylk. I'm not getting any money from these people. I'm just talking about them and that they're good products. And so Sylk is the first water-based product that I want to talk about. It is very good, and it is water-based. Again, you can use it with any toys. You can use it with condoms, latex or non-latex. And the other one that I have talked about on podcast episodes before is Bella Aqua de Amor. So this is a CBD infused personal lubricant. It can help with inflammation. It can help with making sex more pleasurable, just like how all lubricants can do. And so it is very good to use. Again, it's water-based, and it can be found anywhere where lubes can be found. I will also give you a place where you can find all the products that I'm talking about and other products that are approved by doctors. Okay, so the next one is, the next category of lubricants are silicone-based. And so silicone-based lubricants are made with silicone as the base. Think silky. So even though I talked about the last product as called Sylk, they are silky. So they have like a silky feel to them. They generally last longer. So if you are into marathon sex, or if you just want to have a lubricant that lasts longer than a couple minutes, then and that you don't have to reapply very often, silicone-based lubricants are generally very good. The other thing is they're usually used for more sensitive skin. So if you are a person that gets irritated very easily, if your skin is very sensitive, there's a lot of redness or burning sensation, especially when you're using products for the vulva, then silicone-based are pretty good. The other thing is you don't want to use silicone-based lubricants for silicone toys. Even though you would think that they're the same type, they're the same based products, it's not. And it can cause some friction at on the toys. It can cause some micro tearing, and it can basically degrade the material of the toy. So it is not good to use silicone-based lubricants with silicone toys. So silicone toys, Lilo has a lot of silicone toys. There's many different companies that have silicone based toys, but just know that you should not use it when you are using a silicone based lubricant. And so products that I have used and also found helpful, Lube is actually a very good one, and it is has very few products in it, and it is very good. It lasts a long time, and you don't need to reapply it very often. So Lube is one of those products that I do personally like. The other one is Sliquid. Actually, no, this one. No. So yes, that is, so Sliquid is Lube is the one that I am talking about. That is a silicone-based lube. Actually, Sliquid, there are many different types of lube within their company. Some of them are silicone-based, and some of them are actually hybrid. So there is a different category, which I won't really touch upon, but there's a lot of hybrid lubricants that are out there. So they combine water and silicone, or they combine water and oil. So there's different ones that are out there that will do a combination. So Sliquid will also do combination or hybrid lubricants. So if you need to see what type of lubricant you have, you can generally look on the back of the bottle, and it'll say water-based or silicone-based or oil-based. or you could just look it up online. It's really easy to find information online these days. Okay, so the next one is oil-based lubes. So what's the deal with oil-based? Well, oil-based are generally the most quote unquote natural. So usually, okay, well, coconut oil. Coconut oil is a very common oil-based lubricant that people use. I've also heard of Vaseline being used by patients and just other people. But oil-based lubricants can generally be used for both sex and can be used as a massage oil. So coconut oil is very good. It also smells good. So it kind of leaves you with a fragrance after. It feels good to the body. It usually does absorb really well into the skin. I personally use coconut oil on a regular basis to moisturize my skin. And it can also be used as a lube. To note about oil-based lubes, they should not be used with latex condoms. And the reason why is this. If you use an oil-based lube with a latex condom, it can cause micro tears in the condom, and it can basically mess up the integrity of the condom. So you could get pregnant if you are using an oil-based lube with condoms. So be aware of that. And the other thing that I have read, because there's not very much research about different lubricants. There's some, and I told you about the irritants that are out there. But in terms of oil-based lubricants, if you are a person that is prone to yeast infections and other infections, you should generally avoid these lubricants, the coconut oils, the Vaselines. Vaseline isn't a very good one, but coconut oil, I have heard many friends, patients, and different people use. And just be aware that it can lead to you being more prone to yeast infections and bacterial infections. And if you guys have been following me, I have talked about the vagina, and there's a certain pH that it has to be at. And there are certain products that can mess up your pH and cause you to be more prone to these infections. And so it really is important to look on the bottles and on the backs of each of the products that you're using in and around your vulva, because we do know that our vulvas are very important and very sensitive, and they need a lot of care. They need a lot of self-care. And so one of those is making sure that the products that you're using aren't irritating your vulva. Okay, so those are the oil-based lubricants. And so again, they can be used during sex and massage, and they can use as a massage oil, but they should not be used with latex condoms. I thought I had a example of an oil base, but I don't have it with me. So that is generally it about lubricants. There's a lot more to go over, but I wanted to make this a pretty short episode so it can be broken down very easily. So to go over it one more time, to recap, there are water-based, there are oil-based, and there are silicone-based lubricants. The water-based are universally acceptable. They can be used for any activity. They can be used with condoms, and they can be used with toys. So there are a lot of water-based lubricants that are out there. The silicone-based lubricants, they generally last longer. They should not be used with silicone toys, and they are generally more, they're better for sensitive skin. And last, oil-based lubricants, they can be used for many things: massaging, lotioning, cooking. It can be used for a lot of different things, and it can be used during sex. But for the people that are a little bit more prone to the yeast infections and the bacterial infections, especially bacterial vaginosis, they should be avoided. So that is it. And I will put all of this information in the description especially about what ingredients to avoid when you are looking for different lubricants out there. Also, if you want to buy any of the products that were on today's episode, so Sylk, which is SYLK, Bella Aqua de Amor, the Uber Lube, and the Sliquid. Those can all be found at medamor.com. And you can also use the promo code Viva La Vulva to get a special discount off of the products. But again, you can find these products anywhere where lubricants are found, so sex shops, even CVS and Walgreens and different things like that. And again, I will put those in the description. And yes, like the episode, subscribe to Viva La Vulva podcast, comment, go to our social media and comment on what you like and what information you want to hear more about. So thank you. I am your host, Dr. Cara Quant, and I thank you for listening to the podcast. Bye.